Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to my motherland of Scotland once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while. Now, we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel a couple of times before. These guys are still a relatively new addition to the Scottish beer scene, but they've built up a very good reputation for themselves, and they do quite a wide variety of different styles. So they're one of the Scottish breweries that I would really recommend you check out should you get the chance. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at from them today is a style that I haven't tried from them before. Within that particular style umbrella, it's also a sub-style that you don't really come across all that often actually, and I've heard very good things about this one. It's been a wee while actually since I've had a taste of one of these kinds of beers. So yeah, needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to Glasgow. To be specific, we are going to go to the south of the city to an area called Muirend, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Simple Things Fermentations. So this particular beer comes from their Seasonals range. It's simply called For an Extra Stout. It comes in at 7% ABV, and I think you can tell what style this one is from the name. But this one also has a little bit of molasses in it, so yeah, it should be just that little touch sweeter. But yeah, my first beer review from these guys in maybe about 2 years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. This is another one that I picked up while I was back in the motherland over the summer. So yeah, my first stout from these guys, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it's all about. Definitely nice to return to these guys once again. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Simple Things Fermentations before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Scottish playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but not as often as we'd like. We don't get too much in the way of Scottish beer out here in Hong Kong, but do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Simple Things Fermentations once again then. So, Simple Things, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Glasgow, and the company was founded by Phil Sisson. So he had been in the music business for a long time, and he ran at the Strong Room recording studio in Shoreditch down in London. But he was also a home brewer for quite a while, and he actually won the Great British Homebrew Challenge back in 2016, which offered him the chance to brew a beer at Thornbridge Brewery and then have that beer distributed to Waitrose stores across the whole of the UK. But the beer that won was called Raindrops on Roses, a 5.3% Belgian wit with rose petals added into it. Phil though is originally from Cumbria in the northwest of England, and his wife is from Fife. So in 2016 they moved to Glasgow to be between their families, having lived in London for the last 20 years. But when they moved to Glasgow, Phil wasn't exactly sure what career move to make next, but he'd been a home brewer for a while, as we said, and so he applied to the Heriot Watt Brewing and Distilling Masters Programme. But during his time there, he was involved in the Natural Selection Programme in conjunction with Stewart Brewing, where students tend to brew a beer and put it out to market and see how it does, and their one that they did that year apparently did very well. But after completing his masters, he went on to work for Harveston Brewery in Alva, which is one of my local breweries, before branching out on his own, and he officially founded Simple Things Fermentation, in 2019. So basically he wants to brew unusual styles of beer, and these form the basis of the Big Ideas series that the brewery are currently producing. But the brewery itself can be found found in the Muir End area in the south side of Glasgow, and it's located in an old Victorian workshop which was actually built as a bakehouse. The brew kit they have is from PwC Systems, and they've been building up the brewery's infrastructure and developing new recipes over the last few years. I'm not actually sure how much beer roughly these guys produce per year these days, but as of October 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 140 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I say, they do quite a wide variety of different styles. I think it's been pale ale. I think I've had a pale ale from these guys, a Scotch ale, and I think that's it, to be honest with you. I've done 3 or 4 different beers from these guys, but they've always tended to be pretty interesting actually. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Simple Things Fermentations for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So I think the can on this one is sweating a wee bit. There we go. But yeah, like we said earlier, this one comes in at 7% ABV. It's hopped with Magnum and Cascade, and there's a malt base in here of Maris Otter, brown, crystal, chocolate, roasted barley and black malts. It uses a Nottingham yeast apparently, and it's also got a little bit of molasses in it, or treacle. I don't know why he's used the American word rather than the sort of British English word, if we can call it that, for this one, but maybe he's used American sugar and that's why. But yeah, it tells you a little bit about the beer on the front here. It says, like a rugged off-road version of its smooth, dry Irish cousin, the Foreign Extra Stout is gnarly, coat your mouth chewy. We've gone for both roast barley and black malt in the kettle and doubled down on the darkness with a substantial addition of molasses, treacle sweet with a substantial mouthfeel and a long bitter finish. What does your soul look like? Simple Things Fermentations, registered trademark. That's pretty cool. But yeah, that's the little bit that I've just read to you off the can there. And there you can see the Simple Things Fermentations. I think, is it meant to be 3 flags or 3 tiles? I actually don't know. But yeah, it's it looks nice anyway, and it's got a white label on the back as well, which I thought was quite interesting. Foreign Extra Stout there, vegan friendly and all this kind of thing. But yeah, as we mentioned, a 7% Foreign Extra Stout, this one. Let's get it out into the glass and see what it's all about. So yeah, let's do it. So here we are. This looks nice actually. It's one of the interesting things, like I don't often get to review lower ABV stouts these days, to be honest with you, so I'll have to go back to the motherland to get these kinds of beers. You really don't find them in Hong Kong all that much, to be honest with you. Although I say that, I do have one in the fridge from Yardley Brothers Brewery out here. But yeah, anyway, now that we've got the beer out a little bit, we've maybe got about 60% of it in the glass. Before the head disappears, you can see that this beer poured with about a 1/3 finger of a kind of medium tan fawn coloured head there. It's just faded away to be a thinner, more foamy layer, and you've got that nice ring around the edge of the glass there. Some medium sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, as you can see, and it does get a wee bit foamier the further up that you go. But yeah, anyway, you can see with this one, it's poured that typical lovely dark ebony rosewood colour, which is what we would expect from a stout of any description, to be honest with you. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few different things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, the length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And yeah, when it comes to black beer, so it's quite difficult to affect the colour of the beer with different adjuncts and things, but I guess the molasses might just make the beer a wee bit more, yeah, just might make it a little bit more kind of mahogany and things like that. But if we shine the light through this beer, you've got a lovely sort of Coca-Cola, Pepsi coloured edge to it there. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones just coming up and breaking the surface there. But yeah, it looks pretty nice, this one, I have to say. And you can see there's just, the head has faded away just to leave you a kind of wispy layer sitting on top of it all. So yeah, it looks pretty nice, this one, I have to say. I do like that, how it goes in terms of appearance. But yeah, I don't think we really need to say anything more about the appearance of this beer. In all honesty, it's kind of in line with what you would expect for a stout of any description, really. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the aroma of this beer. I'm very, very curious about this one. Oh right, okay, yeah, this one, I'm going to say straight away, it smells really nice. I think this might be, apart from the Scotch ale, of course, I can't even remember what kind of Scotch ale it was. This is the first like really dark beer I've had from this brewery, and I think, you know, when you're trying a new brewery, trying something from the light end of the spectrum and something from the dark end of the spectrum, that's always going to give you a good idea of you know, how, you know, what a brewery is all about, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's have a proper look at this. Yeah, it smells lovely actually. You know, if I was smelling this blind, I would guess it's a lot stronger than it actually is. It's got a hell of a lot of aroma to it, and that's lovely. So yeah, gives you everything you'd want. You've got a nice kind of breadiness to it. You've got a good bit of the brown sugar, the chocolate's in there, a wee bit of fruit and a wee bit of the hoppy character. Everything that you would want from this kind of beer is in there. So let's just break that down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, as we always do. So yeah, for me, the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely little bit of like an almost rye bready bread crust coming out of this one. So yeah, rye bready bread crust, a little bit of woody character, some kind of Jacob's cream cracker and things like that in there. Absolutely, you've got a layer of kind of sweet oily rye bread, wholemeal brown bread as well. Yeah, wholemeal brown bread for sure. There's a little touch of nuttiness in there with this beer as well. I'm getting maybe a very slight sort of chocolate sponge cake type aroma out of it too. Then yeah, the chocolatey character in this one is really quite nice as well. It's quite how would we say? I would say the chocolatey side of this beer is maybe about a 40 or 50% cocoa chocolate. Yeah, 40-50% cocoa chocolate. Kind of more it leans more toward that milky chocolate side of things, but further back in the nose, you absolutely get a bit of that slightly higher percentage cocoa chocolate out of it. It's got a wee touch of that darker chocolate note, but mostly I'm finding this one is leaning toward the milky chocolate side of things, and it's also got a wee bit of a kind of cocoa nibby type quality to it as well. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. On top of that, you start to get the brown sugars, and for me, there's a mix of things going on here. It's got a little bit of a toasty brown sugary character to it, but I'm also getting the more kind of leathery sort of note as well, and then you get the big oily treacle molasses type thing out of this as well. So it's got a mix of things going on. When it comes to stouts, there's a couple of ways you can kind of play with these. You can give them slightly longer wort boils, and that's going to give you the more kind of leathery type brown sugars, give you a wee bit more complexity and things. You can do a double mash if you're doing a big imperial stout. You can put adjuncts in, as they've done here. What have we missed? Yeah, wort boil, or you can barrel age them as well, but you're probably not going to do that for one that's only 7% ABV, in all honesty. But yeah, the aroma in this one it's got a really nice balance. The more actually that you smell of this one, I think it gets a little bit more woody, in all honesty. So yeah, that's a nice point to make about this one. It does get a little bit more woody and kind of cocoa nibby, I think, the more that you smell of it. But yeah, the nuttiness, I think, comes out slightly more as well. But yeah, I think that covers the actual malty side of the beer. So yeah, the way that this goes together is really, really nice. Yeah, let's see. I think, yeah, we don't need to say anything more about the malty side of the beer, so let's go to the yeasty side of things. And I always tend to find the yeasty side of the beer will come out in the back of the nose. So for me, the yeasty side of this beer, it's kind of similar. Like, I think it's quite rye bready in its character. Maybe it's a Nottingham yeast. I've probably come across this before without really knowing what it was. But for me, the yeasty character in this one, it's got quite a little bit of rye bread with it. It's got a good little bit of, it's got the rye bread with it. It's got more of a kind of wholemeal brown bready sort of thing as well. And then, yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of chocolate, spongy, cocoa nibby type thing. And then, yeah, there's a wee bit of the kind of bread crust, the toasty bread crust coming out of this one. So, yeah, the way that everything pieces together, I think, in this beer is really, really nice from that perspective. Yeah, I like that with, I do like how that pieces together in this one. The malty and yeasty side of this beer, I think, is really quite nicely done. Yeah, I don't know if we really need to say too much more about that, in honesty. So let's go on to the hoppy and fruity side of the beer then. So, as I've mentioned in many reviews before, the Stout is not the most hop forward style of beer, that's for sure. It's not the most hoppy style of beer. The ones that we've got in this, what was it? It was Magnum and Cascade. So Magnum, you can grow Magnum in quite a lot of different countries. Cascade, your OG high alpha acid American hop. It's going to give you quite a nice little bit of red fruity character to that, but with this one, the hoppy character is definitely there, the green component is definitely there, but it takes a bit of a back seat. So you've got a lovely wee touch of earthiness coming out of this one, a wee bit of smooth earthiness, lovely little bit of woody character, wee bit of floral aromaticity, and yeah, you've got a little bit of a kind of grassy character in there too. It actually, yeah, the American floral notes come out of this one a wee bit, and the grassiness too, but yeah, it's, how would you say, it's, the green component doesn't sort of overly push back against anything else, it just adds a wee bit more complexity to the beer. So yeah, little touch earthy, little touch woody, wee bit of floral note, and a bit of grassiness at the front of the nose as well. So all in all, the way that that goes together, I think, is really, really nice in this one, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, don't think we need to say too much more about that. So, on the on the fruity side of things, then, for me, it's kind of what you'd expect if you know the style. You've got a little bit, I don't know if I'd go as far as like raisiny sharpness, but there's definitely a wee bit of figgy note in there. It's mostly figgy and kind of black curranty, to be honest with you. So, yeah, a little bit of figgy character, a little bit of black currant, I would say, and yeah, there's a wee bit of an oily kind of blackberry type character coming out of this beer as well for me. Yeah, I like the way this one goes together, in all honesty. The more you smell this, the more oily the kind of fruity characters get. But yeah, it's a really quite nice smelling beer, this one, I have to say, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the aroma, but as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck into the beer, especially when it's a slightly more unusual or hard to find style such as this one. So yeah, let's get the rest of it out into the glass. Don't want to waste any of it, of course, but yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is from Simple Things Fermentations, one of the seasonals range, the Foreign Extra Stout, coming in at 7% ABV with a little bit of molasses added into it. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's nice. I'm gonna say straight away, yeah, that is a nice beer. Yeah, what can we say about this one? It's just really well done. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. I have to admit, like these lower ABV stouts, if you like, I always enjoyed them. You know, March of the Penguins from Williams Brothers Brewing, and the Old Engine Oil from Harvest, and I used to really, well, still do really like those beers. I just don't come across them all that often. Yeah, it's this one is really nicely done, actually. And it kind of reminds me of those a little bit. This one is It's actually lovely and clean, and it's got a lovely mouthfeel to it. You can taste that Scottish water in there. As I've said many a time on the channel, we're very, very proud of the quality of our tap water in Scotland. And yeah, you can really, yeah, you can taste the quality of the water in this beer for sure. I'm just laughing, I've got those memes in my head about that. But yeah, the mouthfeel of this one is absolutely lovely, and the flavour is good. It's got that nice mixture, it's got a lovely kind of smooth sweetness to it, but then into the aftertaste, yeah, you get that roasty, toasty kind of hit that you want from an extra stout, or a foreign extra stout as we should say. It's got a wee bit of that kind of RIS, Russian Imperial Stout type quality to it. So yeah, big thumbs up to Simple Things Fermentation. Another lovely beer from these guys, and you can always find something interesting from them. That's what I would say about this brewery, and that's one of their big plus points for me. But yeah, let's take this beer then and break it down and describe the flavour for you more in depth, as we always do. So let's go. So for me, the backbone of this beer, it's the backbone of this beer. You've got if you go to that middle third of your palate, the backbone of the beer, you've got a bit of that roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust in there. Absolutely, like one of those well-fired morning roll type things. So that's the backbone of the beer. As you move further forward from that, you've got a little bit of woody character coming out of it. So roasty, toasty, well-fired backbone, wee bit of woody character in there. Then on top of that, you've got the kind of Jacob's cream cracker as well. The next layer up, you do get a little bit of a slightly drier, rye bready character out of the beer. Then you can feel a slightly more oily rye bready character of that. I don't know, it's just, maybe there's a wee gradient of course. But yeah, the next layer up is more kind of wholemeal and brown bready. Then above that, I think there's a very slight layer of, there's a very slight chocolate spongy kind of layer on this one. But then, so it's very, very layered, the flavour of this beer in the middle third of your palate. Your rye bread, your wholemeal brown bread, a little bit of chocolate sponge. Then you start to get the kind of the chocolatey layers out of the beer. And as I've often said, sweeter flavours will come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours will come out further back. And this beer is absolutely showing you some of that. So, for me, further forward, if we go to that chocolatey layer, it is actually quite a dry chocolatey layer. It's kind of more cocoa nibby rather than anything else. But yeah, further forward on that middle third of your palate, it's more along the lines of like a 40% cocoa chocolate. So yeah, 40% cocoa chocolate, and then yeah, as you go further back, it goes more towards a sort of 70 or 80% cocoa chocolate, but at the same time it feels a little bit more cherry because those well-fired bread crusty notes are kind of pushing their way up through the rest of the beer, and you can feel more of the kind of nuttiness, I think, coming out of this beer into the aftertaste too. But sitting above that chocolate layer, you can feel there's a sort of oval or circle shape in the middle of your palate there, and on the base of that it's got a bit of a roasty toasty. There's a little bit of a kind of roasty toasty bread crusty a bit of a roasty toasty, sorry, brown sugary character in there. Then as you move further in with that, you can feel the next layer up is a bit kind of leathery, and in the dead centre of your palate, it's got a little bit more of a, yeah, it's got a little bit more of a kind of like you get more of that kind of treacle molasses type note out of it, but it is actually quite dark and quite dry and toasty in all honesty. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a wee bit of how would we say? There's a little bit of yeah. If you go from the middle of it, you've got the more dry, smooth, kind of treacly molasses note, and that comes out more into the aftertaste. It does actually kind of sweeten up. Then you've got the leathery kind of layers underneath. Then you've got the more sort of toasty, brown sugary characters very much underneath that as well. So yeah, the way that all of that kind of pieces together in this one, I think is very, very nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. yeah, I like the way that that goes together. The malty side of this beer is really nice, and it actually, the more you drink of it, the more it kind of balances itself out. When you first take it in, it is quite roasty, toasty, and punchy in that way, but yeah, it smoothens out and kind of sweetens up the further into the aftertaste that you go. But yeah, I like that with this one. I do like the way it goes together. Yeah. So let's go to the, so that's the middle third of your palate. Let's go to the back third of your palate. As I've often said, the back third of your palate is going to give you very similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but just at different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build-up in there. You've got the kind of rye bready character in the base, the wholemeal brown bready character sitting on top of that. Then a more, you do get, yeah, more of the kind of almost chocolate spongy character there. But yeah, the base of that back third of your palate, the really roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust is there. Sitting on top of that, you've got the kind of crackery layer, the rye bready layers there, but it feels a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy. You can say the same about the wholemeal brown bready layer, which sits above that. And as I say, you've just got that little bit of chocolate spongy character. Creeping on top of that, you can feel the more charred, chocolatey notes, and a wee bit of the drier side of the brown sugar as well. And then, of course, you've got the yeasty part of the beer coming out in this one. So let's look at that yeasty side of things. So, the yeasty component of your beer, it's the yeasty component of your beer is at its core, it's kind of more like a kind of sweet rye bready sort of character. Then around the edge, it feels a little bit more kind of grainy, and yeah, it feels a little bit more of a kind of grainy and wholemeal sort of brown bready thing. And then yeah, it's like a toasty, bread crusty note that comes out of it too. So yeah, yeah, kind of more, yeah, more brown bready, and it actually, the yeasty character adds a little bit of smoothness and a very slight sweetness to the beer, I would say, because yeah, you've got that big roasty character pushing its way out. The further into the aftertaste you go, it's more of the roasty, toasty character that's pushing its way out of this one. But yeah, malty, yeasty side of this beer is great. Back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of compresses down and squashes together that wee bit more. But yeah, let's have a little look at the hoppy side of things then. So back corners of your palate, you've got that lovely little bit of earthiness in there. Then as you move further forward, it's got a bit of a more woody, herbally sort of thing to it. Then yeah, as you're pushing further and further forward from that, it does show you more. It does show you more of a kind of floral aromatic type character. So yeah, you've got lovely floral aromaticity in there. Round the front curve of your tongue, it is a little bit lighter and more grassy, of course. So yeah, the way that that all pieces together in this one, I think, is really quite nice. Yeah. So the green component in this one is pretty smooth, and yeah, you can. Does it come across as particularly American, or I don't know. But yeah, the floral aromaticity and the grassiness are a little bit brighter, as you might expect from the more American leaning hops, I guess. So yeah, I like the way that goes together. It gets a big thumbs up from me. Is that everything we need to say about the hoppy side of the beer? I think so, to be honest with you. So let's go properly to the front third of your palate then, and have a wee look at the fruity side of things. So yeah, the border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, you get that little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the kind of rye bready character in the base, the wholemeal brown bready character in the middle, and then yeah, you get a wee bit of the chocolate sponge on top. The base of that front third of your palate, yeah, you've got the kind of well-fired bread crust, the cracker, the rye bread, the wholemeal bread, then a wee bit of the kind of chocolatey character and some of the smoother brown sugars creeping forward. Then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So let's have a little look at that fruity side of things then. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer for me, it's kind of as we described in the aroma. There's not too much in the way of fruitiness with this one, and honestly. So when you first take the beer in, you do get just a little teeny hint of like a raisiny sharpness there. If you go to the back of that, when you go to the back of that front third of your palate, it's maybe like it's got a big sort of juicy, oily, kind of plummy character. Then as you move further forward, it's got a wee bit of a more, it's got a little bit of a more kind of figgy type quality to it. So yeah, you've got a wee bit of a raisiny note, you've got a bit of a kind of more plummy character underneath, then a bit of a figgy note in the middle, and as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's got a little bit more kind of black currant, and I don't know if I'd go as far as blackberry, I think black currant. So the base is plum, fig, black currant, and there's just a wee touch of raisiny sharpness when you bring it in. I think that summarises the fruity character in this beer quite nicely, to be honest with you. But yeah, flavour wise, I've really enjoyed this one. I think it's got a really nice balance to it. It does just enough on the roasty side of things to let you know, it's like a foreign extra stout, but the other things that are in there just balance it out really nicely. And the malty base is significantly, it's quite complex in this, and I think that's what makes it quite interesting too. So yeah, I think we can round off the review with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So what would I say about this one? For me, this beer, I would say that it's, I think mid-body is fair to describe this one. Carbonation's very, very smooth. As I kind of alluded to earlier, it's got quite a clean mouthfeel to it. You know, it's that typical Scottish tap water, of course. It's lovely. So yeah, that typical Scottish tap water gives it that lovely, lovely kind of clean mouthfeel. But yeah, all in all, it's quite a smooth stout, this one, but nice and roasty and toasty on the back end. So on the malty side of things, it's got a good little bit of roasty, toasty, well-fired character underneath. There's the smoother malt base in the middle, and then you've got more of a, kind of smooth, toasty, brown, sugary character sitting on top of that, which I think is great as well. So it's got a wee bit of that dry sweetness. The hoppy side of this beer, what's this one going to be in terms of IBUs? Maybe about 50 or 60 IBUs, something like that. It does have, I think maybe it's 60 is probably a good guess. You've got a little bit of bitterness from the hops, but not overly much. The earthiness coming out there, the floral side of things, the roasty, toasty side of the beer. That's quite nice. So the malty character is a little bit roasty and toasty underneath, it's smoother in the middle, you've got the dry sweetness on top, but yeah, your IBU's coming from a combination of the hops and that drier side of the malt. Then you've got a lovely fruity side of things coming out of this one as well. Just a little bit of a kind of juicy, fruity character as well, but more oily, I think, is maybe a better way to describe it than juicy, in all honesty. So really interesting beer, this one. I'm glad that I got to try this, and it's nice to return to Simple Things after I think about 2 years at least since I had something from these guys. So the next time I go back to the motherland, I will definitely try and get another different style from these guys and review it for you here on the channel. But let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Foreign Extra Stout, coming in at 7% ABV from Simple Things Fermentations in Muirend in the south side of Glasgow. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Simple Things Fermentations as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fairly near future. But until then, check out my social media, check out Simple Things Fermentation social media, and I'll catch you guys on another review very, very soon. Till the next time, ciao just now. Check out some very nice beers. Simple Things Fermentations are pretty awesome. Cheers.